Today I thought I'd talk about toilet parts. I've been fixing a lot of these lately. So I thought I'd point out some of the basic stuff with the toilet tanks and what goes wrong in them. This piece right here, the little flapper in here, 90% of the time that's where the problem is. They wear out, they start leaking water through. That's when your toilet's running for a little while, it stops. It runs for a little while, it stops. The water's draining out through here, and then it fills back up to the top, and then it drains out again. They're quick, they're easy to replace. If they're wearing out often, it's probably because you're dropping chlorine tabs into your toilet tank. The chlorine tabs will just eat these parts up. And there's nothing wrong with that as long as you understand that it is destroying the parts in the tank. And it's not just the flapper that's the problem. There's bolts that hold your tank to the toilet itself. These are rubber as well, and that chlorine will eat these up. When these go, water starts draining out behind your toilet, and it becomes a much bigger project to fix. A lot of times people don't notice it. These bolts get really corroded. I have actually had to take toilets apart with a Sawzall before. As long as you can get these apart, you can keep rebuilding a toilet forever. As long as the porcelain doesn't crack, you can keep putting parts in them. The hoses that you hook up your toilet with. Most common mistake people make with these is they tighten them down too far. These are reusable, but most of the time I have to throw them away because somebody used a wrench to crank this part down. This is hand tightened. This one, you get it nice and snug and you go a quarter turn with a wrench. There's a little rubber seal in there, and if you crank these down, you destroy the seal, can't reuse the hose. It just adds one more part to the project. And the most important part of a toilet, the shut-off valve. This is right behind the toilet on the wall. If your toilet plugs up, starts to overflow, all you gotta do is reach down, shut this off, shuts off all the water to the toilet. You don't have to bust out the mop. I would say easily 80% of the toilets that I go work on, this valve does not work. Most of them are the old screw in. You just keep turning it till it shuts off, and usually you start to turn it and it starts leaking water right there. I almost always replace them when I work on a toilet with a quarter turn valve. They last a lot longer, they work every time, and can save you a lot of embarrassment. Toilets are held down to the floor with a ring. This is usually attached to the plumbing pipe, but quite often is rusted out and destroyed by the time I get there. And I'll take one of these steel rings and I'll bolt this to the floor over the old one so that there's something for the bolts for the toilet to hook into. The cause for this is toilets that rock a little bit and you can feel them moving. All that seals the water between your toilet and the drain is a piece of wax. It just gets smashed down between the toilet and the floor. And when the toilet starts moving a little bit, you start breaking that seal, water starts getting out, it'll actually rust away these metal plates. And the plastic plates are even worse because they're just not strong enough. People crank down the bolts and pull them right up through the plastic. So there are a lot of little tricks to repairing a toilet. The most common fix is right here. It's fairly easy to do, but I have had to take toilets apart where homeowners had not read the little instructions that come with this, and had done some really weird stuff putting it together, and it didn't quite work. If your toilet's just kind of spitting after you flush it, you can hear the water kind of spitting into the tank, it's time to replace this valve. They're not expensive, they're not difficult to do, and if you don't want to do them, I know a guy who will happily come to your house and replace all these parts for you. That would be me. In general, if I go to work on a toilet that somebody's complaining about anything in the tank, I replace everything in the tank. It's quick, it's easy, and I don't get called back the next day saying, oh, well, now it's doing this. I think that's about all I got on these. There are newer tanks that they do different stuff in here, but this piece right inside the tank, right here, that your flapper attaches to, that can be replaced as well. And it can be changed out to a style that you can buy parts for readily down at Home Depot. But there are a few toilets out there that have special flappers on them. The best bet to do with those is to find the Ace in your neighborhood, the Ace hardware. If the toilet's original to the house, the Ace hardwares in neighborhoods tend to figure out what parts are in the houses around them, and they stock those parts. That's the biggest difference between Ace and the bigger stores, is they pay attention to what's going on in their neighborhood. They stock those parts. Any house I go into, old faucet pieces that need to be replaced, I don't even bother with Depot. I find the closest to Ace. They're more expensive, but they actually have the part there. But yeah, there's a lot of different styles of toilets and a lot of the new low flows. Speaking of the new low flows, they actually work now. They've finally gotten past that initial point where they didn't do anything. The newer low flow toilets do work and are worth buying.